car in the garage. We're actually going to pull the Mazda in here, and we're going to do something that I'm probably going to end up regretting since I live in the South. We're going to finally remove the AC on it. Now, I've had the power steering off for a long time. I've left this AC in it because I had some notion that I might make a special idler pulley and still use the AC, but I've decided against it. I don't really use any. I always drive with the windows down. The only time I ever use AC is if a woman is in the car with me, and since none of that ever happens, then there's no really a point to have it in there. It's going to save, I'm guessing, 25 pounds, maybe 30. It's going to clean the bay up even more. It's going to look real nice under there, and it'll make more room for me if I end up doing an oil cooler and stuff like that. I can put all the hoses and everything where the AC pump and everything was. So let me switch these out and we'll get the car in the air and get started. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you have the Freon out, and you can go to AC shops and they'll normally reclaim it and stuff, because you really shouldn't just vent that stuff to the atmosphere. But anyway, so the first things that we're going to do is start loosening stuff. We're going to remove the tender off the high pressure hose, and we're going to remove the fittings here and here off the compressor. And I will put that compressor for sale on the Mazda Protege parts page on Facebook. And there's another fitting here on the low pressure side that we can remove. We're going to remove this back line first just to get it out of the way. There's another fitting there we can loosen. And it comes along here and underneath the signature cold air intake. And then we can remove both fittings off the condenser. You can correct me if that's incorrect down there. Or is that's the evaporator, right? Okay, doesn't matter. So we're gonna remove the fittings there, and we're gonna try to do this without removing the radiator. We'll see how far we get on that. What I'm gonna actually do is remove my brackets and just let the radiator tip back. And I guess that's the condenser up front, up here. And there's two bolts here, and we're going to try to remove it without taking off the front of the car unless we absolutely have to. So this part actually should be easy. The difficult part is going to be inside the car to take the core out of the dash and seal the box, and that's going to be the most difficult part, removing that box. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to remove this and that back line, like I said, and break everything loose as far as I can. Oh, there's another fitting here that we can remove and get rid of this line off the AC compressor. So let's go ahead and get to it and get some of these parts off. We have removed the low pressure lines that went all along the side of the car here. Like I said, I have taken both ends off the evap canister. I took the radiator brackets off. Everything has been removed. You do need to be careful of the wires here, because one of those is for the timing down there. So you need to be careful for those and your cam sensor. And there were two little tenders on the AC line here, and they just clip off. I'm actually going to put these wires up out of the way here. We don't want to hit them. And this wire for the, I guess that's the trigger wire for the AC, is just this little clip here that we can remove with more drama than that. There we go. So now that's off of there. And I did remove a piece of my own wire loom off of here so I could see that better, put it on camera. And that's going to go with the AC compressor. And I'm going to put a couple plugs in those two ports there. I don't want debris getting in there, especially since I'm going to try to sell the AC. It was working when I took the belt off and depowered the rack. I was eventually going to try to put a idler pulley out where the power steering pump was, but it turned out to be too much trouble. This AC line looks ugly. I'm used to no AC now that I have the FRS. There's no point in having two cars with AC, especially when it's as nice as this. So let's go ahead and I guess remove the condenser down there as best we can. Hopefully we don't have to take the radiator out too far, and I don't want to jerk around with something and end up breaking it. So I'm going to try to pull the radiator out and set it back a little bit, just further back towards the exhaust manifold there, and see if we can get that to come out. And like I said, there's the two bolts here on the front, and there are, I believe there should be a couple more back here. but I don't see them anywhere actually. It might just be those 2 bolts and it will come off. Yep. Should lift out of there just like the radiator would if you were so inclined to take it out. So let me pull that out real quick and then we'll remove the compressor and then we'll go get in the car. Okay, the condenser actually came out pretty easy. I just leaned the radiator back and it lifted right out. There it is right there. And I also took off the evap canister, and it was just one 10mm bolt that was on the back side, and I could feel for it. If I can balance that. The bolt just went in this way, and you could just feel for it, and it came out easy as well. So the next part, we're going to remove the actual compressor, and it looks to be, what, 4 12mm bolts, and it and its mount should come out of there fairly easily. So I'm going to get a wrench and get that out too. It was just those 4 12mm bolts, and the compressor lifted out of there, no problem. Of course, if you have a power steering pump, which, let's be honest, you probably don't at this point, unless you're replacing your AC compressor, in which case it would probably be easier to get underneath the car and take the pump out the bottom, because you can remove that plastic splash shield pretty easily. But since we are deleting, we could probably remove that actual mounting bracket right here. It looks like 4 14mm, and I'll probably get to that, but I'd like to get the components out of the dash. So let's get in the car and get started on that. The glove box is actually pretty easy to remove. You can just pull on it because it clips in there and take it out. And that's all there is to that. And where we're actually going, we've got to remove this box right here, and that has all the AC components in it. So let's get started on this cluster. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get that 10mm bolt right up there. And there's, get this thing to go down here. There's another 10mm there. But after we do that, I think this whole box might actually just come out after that. But so I have more room to work. I'm going to pull off the surround here, all along here. For the, sorry, had the camera wonky. All along here, I'm going to pull that surround off that had the glove box. So I just have more room to work, and that box should drop out of there a little bit easier. So let me get a Phillips screwdriver and 10mm and some extensions, and we'll get you back from there. So it's what we thought. It was just those 2 10mm bolts, and you disconnect a couple of wires, and that's all there is to the AC box. And hopefully we can get the thing to feed out, because I don't want to cut any lines, so we've got to get the solid high pressure line out through the firewall, and that's what I am. That took a little bit of finagling, but I got the line out in one piece. Now I already removed this off the lines here because we need to reseal this hole when we put it back in, otherwise it's not going to work. We won't get heat in the winter. And I do have to say a big thank you to Jacob Sell, who actually sent me a bunch of pictures and talked me through this to remove this AC core and to be sure to reseal this. Ignore my phone. So to get the core out, we're going to split this case, and it's just some Phillips screws along it here, and we'll get that out and remove this whole AC core. And it actually, we're probably going to get some pretty decent weight savings out of this, as well as making the engine bay look a lot prettier. So let me get Phillips and we'll do this too. Be very careful not to tear the foam. I just pulled it loose so I can re-glue it back on, and that's pretty much all there was to this. And that is the AC deleted. Carefully set this stuff aside. Someone might want that. And now what we have to do, other than put this back together and re-glue the foam, we need to seal this hole right here. Right there. We need to seal that up to keep air from getting in here, obviously. So what I'll probably do is I'll just silicone caulk over these holes here, and then I will use part of this to seal it against the firewall, and I'll put a piece of plastic behind this and glue a piece of ABS plastic or something here. So this will be a dead hole, but it will still seal against the firewall and keep just regular air from coming into here. But I mean, that was actually a lot simpler than I thought it would be. So let me put this back together and get this ready to go back in the car. Okay, here's what I did, and it's still wet, so I'm gonna hurry up and get it in the car so it can center itself. I just cut a piece of plastic and used caulking to hold it down here, and I filled some of the cavity up with it from this side, and I put some caulking on the back of the foam here just so it has a good surface to push against. Eventually I'll make a block off plate for the car, but in here I cut another piece of plastic and I siliconed it from the inside as well. So it should have a good barrier there so I don't get any air leaks or anything like that. And I'm going to go ahead and get this thing back in the car. I put some glue on the foam and everything, so everything should hold still. And I'm going to put it back in the car real quick and we'll bolt it back in. And it's all done. The box went back in nice and easy. And all I've done is temporarily tend these wires. I'm going to put a P-clamp down there on the frame to hold the timing wire and stuff, so my wire tuck, what I did have one, still looks okay. Oh, and I replaced the ground bolt with a CR3 Motorsports dress-up bolt and washer. So overall, I am very happy with the way it looks. It's much cleaner now without that ugly AC line sticking over there, and since I wasn't using the air conditioner, it needed that anyway. And I'm quite pleased with it. It wasn't near as difficult as I thought it would be. So let me go get a scale real quick and weigh everything for those of you who might still be interested, and I will weigh it, all of this right here, and we'll see what our total weight savings was. Well, that is about as precarious as it can possibly be. Everything stacked on there, condenser, cores, compressor, all the lines. And let's see if I can get the camera down there so we can see. We're just over 20 pounds. So as far as making the engine look better, and something I wasn't using anyway, this also had the side benefit of losing another 20 pounds, and I think the power steering pump and everything was about 20, so we're at over 40 pounds on just that stuff, not to mention the header swap off of the stock exhaust manifold, which is extremely heavy. And overall, we've done a pretty decent weight savings, and the only real way we can go any lighter than that, if that's your goal, is to swap the battery for a dry cell or something instead of the big old school battery that's in there. But overall, very happy with this, and I hope it helped anybody that it needed. Thank you. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here for more Rage Fueled content. We'll see you next time.